Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's fourth video. We're going to have a look at the weather for 10 to 14 days for today's fourth video. Day 10 will take us to the 11th of July. We'll be able to extend out beyond that with the said GFS and CET Ensembles. Maybe we'll try in a couple of weeks. We'll have a look at the CFS V2 at the end of the video for the next 4 weeks. That gets us into the last stages of July, and I shall get on that for you in a moment. Just to say that first video release today was our 6 AM UK weather forecast. Then we released the EC42 day, followed by the week ahead forecast. Been an epic day of content so far, and we've still got Terry Scoley's July forecast to go as well. So please check out all of today's content, like, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Thank you so much everybody for doing that. And epic day of content, absolutely amazing. 12 subscribers now are going to get us to 16.4k. So if you could give us a sub and tell your friends and family to subscribe, that'd be absolutely incredible. Thank you so much everyone for doing that. Now, going to start off with central and temperature. We have got June's CET confirmed. So here we go, and yes, there you see it, 17 degrees for central temperature for June 2023. That's 2.9 degrees above average. That is a very significant number, because it means that we have had our hottest June confirmed for 177 years. Now, you may have heard that this June is the hottest on record. That is for the UK wide temperature. So the UK temperature record, I think, goes back to around 1880, but the central England temperature goes all the way back to 1659. And so, of course, the further back you can go, the better, really, to put things in a historical context. The only thing is, the further back you go, the more unreliable it gets. Obviously, when you get into 1600s, as these are all rounded to 0.5 of a degree, then it gets a little bit more unreliable. But from around 1700 onwards, it's pretty reliable. And being back in 1600s, you know, it is a decent snapshot of what the conditions would have been like back then. For example, in 1666, we know we had a hot summer because it's followed by the Great Fire of London. So we know that the summer of 1666 was a hot summer and a dry summer, or else we wouldn't have had the Fire of London. And you can see the confirmation there with June at 15, July at 18, and August at 17. So it's a snapshot, you know, back in the 1600s. But after that, when you get in 1700, it's reasonably reliable. So if you come down to 2023, we can see, but they haven't yet placed that 17.0 here on this index page. They will do in the coming hours, maybe on Monday they'll do that. But we've already seen that, you know, it is confirmed to be 17.0. So 1976 is the first year to look at, because for a long time within the CET CET index, 1976 did actually have a CET of 17.0, which, if that had been maintained, would mean that the June CET for 2023 would have equaled 1976. You know, they would both be sitting at 17.0. There was an update to the CET index last year where they corrected June 1976 from 17.0 to 16.9, which means that June 2023 has actually come in at 0.1 of a degree, just 0.1 of a degree above 1976. Now, you know, I'm not going to comment on the fact that they changed that last year from 17.0 to 16.9. I leave it to everybody to draw their own conclusions with that. You know, I'm not going to comment. So before that, though, there are a couple of hotter Junes than this particular June. So the first one, we got into the 17 degrees Celsius, was actually in 1822. Where is it? There it is. This one just here, 1822, came out with a June CT of 17.1. That's actually followed by quite a cool July and August at 15.2 for both respectively. But next year, so that's 1822, but next year is actually not that far on, it's 1826, which was followed by June CET of 17.3, and that ended up quite a hot summer with July and August both in the 17s as well. We have actually gone into the 18s a couple of times for the June CET. And the first time that happened was back in the year of 1676, a very, 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 very long time ago. We were talking about snapshots here, so we are 18.0. It's possible that might have been sort of, it might have been 17.95 or something, or indeed 18.05, something like that. But there we see that we did get into the 18s for that one. And the hottest June for the CET, which of course is not, part of the UK index. I re-emphasise that, and that's the reason we've heard that the UK temperature record has fallen in the hottest June on UK temperature record, because that starts around 1880, I think. But 1846 was the hottest June on record. If they have been recording temperatures for UK back in 1846, I assume that it would still be standing. That record would still be standing above 2023, but they was not. So that's why it's the hottest June on record for the UK temperature record. But for the CET, we see that it actually came out 18.2 there in June 1846. So, very, very hot, very, very, very hot, June, that one. July and August in 1846, they were both mixed, actually, in the 16s. So, that's probably quite warm for that era, actually, to have June and July July and August both in the 16s. But they were very mixed, and quite volatile months, with quite a lot of rain and thunderstorms and whatnot. So yes, it depends. You pay your money, you take your choice. We've either had we have had the hottest June on record for the UK, because the record only goes back to 1880. For the much longer and much more consistent temperature record, we've had our hottest June since 1846, our hottest June for 177 years. Whichever way you cut it, it has been a very warm month, very historic month. It's one that we'll remember for a long time. Of course, it is part of a long-term trend of generally warm temperatures. So last summer, for example, we know what happened. July and August both coming in at the 18s, for example. We've also had like July 2018, which was remarkably hot, 19.2. Plenty of 17s mixed in as well. July 2019 and August 2019 both in the 17s. August 2020 in the 17s as well. July 2021 in the 17s. So, about as far back as 2013, we've got July at 18.4, August at 17.0, July 2014 in the 17s, July 2016 in the 17s, August 2016 in the 17s, and September in the 16s in 2016 as well. So we can see that clearly the summers in the last decade or so have started getting really very, very warm indeed. A lot of the time, you've got to go back to 2012 actually for the last time we've had what you would describe as a proper cold, wet, washout summer. And even that one did manage to get August into the 16s, but June and July were both really quite bad in 2012. So it's been a long time since we've had a washout. And we have had some remarkably hot summer months recently, and we have to add June 2023 to that as well. So there you go, and we've got the confirmation there of our hottest June for the CET for 177 years since 1846. We wait to see what July and August have in store. Right, so pushing on, these are the GFS upper temperature and precipitation ensembles. For the next couple of weeks, looking at Belfast today. Red line is the 30-year upper air temperature average for Belfast, and for the time being, the upper air temperature is actually going to be cool. We're actually going to be cooler than average, not just at Belfast, but across many parts of the country. The second week of July sees a bit of a recovery in those upper air temperatures, returning to going a little bit above average, maybe dropping again a bit as we get into the middle part of the month. Precipitation-wise, very unsettled for Belfast, so regular rainfall spikes from start to finish, and looking particularly wet in that particular window from 15th to around 14th, something like from 5th to around 14th July. Looks really quite wet in that particular period. If you go somewhere like Northampton, close to the Irish Sea and the Atlantic, obviously Belfast is going to be a wetter place, but even somewhere like Northampton looks quite unsettled actually for the first half of this July. Again, the red line is the 30-year upper air temperature average for Northampton, starting off not too bad through the rest of this weekend to start next week, but getting more unsettled through next week and lasting through the second week of July as well. Some pretty large rainfall spikes there. Not as many, of course, as there are at Belfast. It's much further eastwards, of course, but nevertheless, still that for July, that still looks quite unsettled. Precipitation, temperature-wise, I should say, so cooler than average through the first week. Bit of a recovery in temperature taking place around the beginning of the second week of July. Maybe another drop again towards the middle part of the month. So cooler and more unsettled first week or two to July by the look of it. Temperature anomalies from the 1st to the 9th of July coming out around or a little bit below average. And precipitation anomalies from the 1st to the 9th of July. Wetter than average in the far south, southeast and to the northwest. Drier than average through the central sway of the country. The latest Windflow Map from earthnullschool.net shows that pulling in west to northwesterly winds today. And so they're bringing lots of showers into the north. Not as many showers further south, but probably quite a lot of cloud into the south. It's certainly a nice fresh feel with those winds coming in from off the Northland. So if June was too hot for you, if it was too much, then things certainly feeling a lot more comfortable as we're going into the start of July. Right, let's start going through the chart data then. This is how the latest UK Met Euro run is looking for midnight on Tuesday. The low pressure going off to Scandinavia, and we're pulling in the wind from a northwesterly direction. So it's showering and a little bit on the cooler side as well. Through the course of middle next week, again, remain rather mixed, to say the least. By the time you get through to the end of next week, though, next week, some higher pressure to our south and southeast, trying to draw the heat back up from the south. We've got all sorts of problems going on with the model output at the moment with this. So we're trying to get back to the June pattern there, with high pressure building both to the south and the east. But this area of low pressure is trying to get in from off the Atlantic Ocean. How quickly that low gets in will determine whether we get another push of quite hot weather through next weekend and into the beginning of the following week, or whether we just very quickly move this low in, flatten off the ridge, and go back to a westerly flow very quickly next weekend. As we only get to midnight on Saturday, the UK Met is inconclusive. It could go either way there. Icon, again, looking rather cool and showery through the middle part of next week. Check out Weekend Forecast for more on that. As we get into the weekend, we're going to find high pressure building to our south and east. Low pressures out to the north and west. It looks like the high pressure with Icon is standing its ground a little bit better compared to the UK Met, I have to say there. That gets us to midday next Saturday, by which time the upper air temperatures are becoming quite warm again in the south and southeast, with plus 10 Celsius isotherm arriving. The GFS midnight run, again, looking rather cool and showering through Tuesday into Wednesday, rather cool and showery as well. Thursday, Friday into Saturday, we've got high pressure to our east, low pressure is out to the west. We draw up the wind from a hot southerly direction, but not for long. By the end of Saturday into Sunday, this is midnight Sunday, you'll see the low pressure is already breaking through. That'll take a band of probably heavy showers, maybe thunderstorms across the country on Saturday, and then followed by cooler air with showers or longer spells of rain coming in from the Atlantic. And the rest of the GFS midnight run is actually very unsettled and quite cool as well, with low pressure never far away, all the way up to 17th of July as far as we get to. The GFS midnight run looks quite cool and mix. This is how the GFS 6Z is looking. Again, we're bringing the wind from a showery and rather coolish northwesterly direction on Tuesday. This little area of low pressure is interesting. That might bring some much needed, very heavy rain to the south and southeast overnight Tuesday and maybe into a Wednesday. Not all models are going for that by any means, though, so that is one to watch as early as Tuesday to Wednesday. However, through the course of next week, it will be generally quite cool and showery until we get to the end of next week. Remember, 6Z also gets this ridge going over and to the east of the country, but you see it's very, very flimsy and very quickly pushed aside by this low in the Atlantic. We do get a push of warmth temporarily late Friday into Saturday, but it only lasts a few hours, and then we're back into those Atlantic winds again. That low brings showers or longer spells of rain to many parts of the country next weekend. And then the low just sitting around the country as we move up to day 10 and beyond it as well. Looks quite mixed, quite cool and unsettled, all the way up to the end of the GFS 6Z run, which again gets us to the 17th of July. If you're enjoying the video, please can you like, share and subscribe. Thank you so very much, everybody, for doing that. Drop a comment and let us know what you think about this and all of our video. Don't forget to tell your friends about GavsWeatherVids, and we thank you so much, everybody, for doing that. As I say, like 12 subscribers is all we need to get ourselves to 16.4k. So if you could give us a sub and tell your friends to subscribe, that would be incredible. Thank you so much. Right, let's push on. GM, again looking rather cool and showery on Tuesday with wind in from the west and from the northwest. Well, those cool showery conditions last through to the end of next week. But look at this, high pressure builds across the west of Europe by Friday into Saturday. Low pressure out in the Atlantic is held off. So the GM much stronger with that area of high pressure at the weekend. Consequently, with the wind coming up from a southeasterly direction, the upper air temperatures are much warmer as well. And I reckon that could, by Sunday, be getting the south and southeast back close to 30 degrees, 86 Fahrenheit. That high pressure carries on dominating the weather into the beginning of the following week. This is Monday, 10th of July. Plus 15 Celsius isotherm is arriving in the south, so that would definitely get the temperature to 30 degrees in the south. Possibly just signs that it's turning thundering by day 10, which is the 11th of July. Just see indications of a bit of a thundery low starting to get going then. But the upper air temperatures are hot. We are above 15 degrees at 850 kPa widely across England and Wales. So probably hotter than 30 degrees with that if it came off. What a difference between the GFS and the GEM there. What does the ECM have to say about all of this? Let's have a look. So again, we start off on Tuesday looking rather cool and showering. No pressure over Scandinavia. Winds coming in from a northwesterly direction. Cool showery conditions carry on through the middle of next week. And again, as we get towards the end of next week and next weekend, we get a rising pressure to our south and southeast. That starts to draw up hotter air from the south into next weekend, and the ECM also maintains those hotter temperatures, not as much as the GEM, but the ECM is closer to the GEM than it is to the GFS for next weekend. So somewhere in between, it would be very warm for next weekend. Possibly it might get quite hot down in the southeast corner, and that low pressure is being held off well away to the west of Ireland. Might be a few thundery showers and whatnot, but I think the trend definitely is towards drier and hotter weather with the ECM. And one thing of note with the ECM is just how intensely hot things are getting through southern parts of France, Spain, Portugal, and into the Med. We've actually got the plus 30 Celsius isotherm there into southern parts of Spain and Portugal. Remember, this is day 10, 11th of July. A real heat dome there, sitting across the south and southwest of Europe. Not necessarily saying we would tap into that, but we have got this ridge of high pressure just here. So if that high was to drift just a little bit further east, rather than it being centred over the Low Countries and the UK, it became centred over Germany and Poland, let's say. And this low out in the Atlantic, or this trough, got a little bit closer, then that will probably start to squeeze that extreme heat northwards up the western side of Europe. That is a very intense and extreme dome of heat down there in the south and southwest of Europe, that will probably start moving our way if the wind got into the south. So just something to keep in mind there from the ECM by day 10. This is a precipitation forecast based on that ECM run from temeteo.com, and we're looking at showering conditions in the north this weekend, and then the showers and long spells may become more widespread through next week. That's the wet weather that we might have on Tuesday night into Wednesday. Across England and Wales would be quite useful if that came off for the gardens in the south, my garden in particular. And then beyond that, most of the wet weather is away to the north and west as a high pressure takes over to our south and east as well. These are the options on the table within the ECM Ensembles today for day 10. Gets us to the 11th of July. 18 members of the ECM Ensembles with low pressure to the west of Ireland. High pressure is to the east of the country. Winds are coming up from a very warm southerly direction with that. So could be warm, but the low pressure to our southwest might provide some sort of thundery conditions. We got 13 climate control and the operation run again with low pressure to west of Ireland, high pressure over France. Winds again coming up from a southerly southwesterly direction. That might bring in some thunder from the west, but the main thing is that the ridge is there to our south and southeast, which would be having a go anyway. It's starting to try and funnel some of that hot air up from Spain. 11 though have us under a trough of low pressure. That's cool and unsettled. And 9 with low pressure to our east, high pressure out to west. That's cool, showery with winds in from a northwesterly direction. In 2 weeks' time, these are the options that we've got. This gets us to the 16th of July. 17 members of the ECM Ensembles unsettled then with low pressure over the top of the country. Another 16 with low pressure across northern and western parts of Europe. That looks cool and unsettled too. 9 with low pressure towards Iceland and Greenland. High pressure down towards France. Winds flat and westerly with that dry in the south, most are settled in the north. And then another 9 with low pressure in off the Atlantic. That one also looking quite unsettled. So when we get into the middle of July, actually, the majority option, the vast majority option, is to be relatively cool and unsettled. We've got 17 and 16 and also 9, and even the 9 here aren't that settled. They're all looking rather dodgy, I have to say, for the middle of July there. So if we do temporarily get something a bit warmer or hotter and drier in the second week of July, by mid-month, we could well be back into rather cool and unsettled conditions again. We'll see. CFS V2, lastly, these are 500 millibar height anomalies broken down into week periods. The first week period takes us from the 1st to 7th of July. The coming week has low pressure to our north and east, looking rather cool and showery. With that one, week 2 is going to be the 8th through to the 14th of July. Again, low pressure across the north and the west of Europe. High pressure in the middle of the Atlantic. Winds in from a north-northeasterly direction, so rather cool and showery with that one. Week 3 is going to be the 15th to the 21st of July. Low pressure is over Scandinavia. High pressure out in the Atlantic. Probably bringing the wind from the northwest. That probably keeps it quite cool, actually, and could be a bit showery for northern regions. And then week 4 looks very strange. This is the 22nd to 28th of July. Loads of high pressure in the North Atlantic and going up to northern Europe as well. We've also got some higher pressure through the continent. So that's a very odd looking scenario. Maybe some low pressure coming in between those two areas of high pressure, but it's very hard to decipher. And as it's 4 weeks where it's not really worth worrying about. Lastly, CFS V2 for August. This is the opening salvo from the CFS Monthlies for August, placing an area of above average heights in the Atlantic, probably bringing the wind from a westerly direction there. The temperature anomaly is a little bit above average, not an excessively hot month though, and precipitation anomalies actually look a little bit above average in the North Atlantic and generally across western parts of Europe. So August perhaps a bit on the mixed side. But it's only opening salvo, and that will change several times before we get to August. Okay, we're done. If you enjoyed the video, please do like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much, everybody. Do that. Drop a comment. Let us know what you think about this and all of our videos. And don't forget to tell your friends about GavsWeatherVids. We thank you so much, everybody, for doing that for us. We've got one more video to go today, which is Terry Scully's July forecast. Look out for that. Probably around 6ish this evening, something like that. And then tomorrow, we've got 6 AM UK weather forecast. We'll have a 10 to 14 day. And yes, our live streams are back. So the Monday live stream is returning to its original time and day, which back in the pandemic, you'll remember, I'm sure, was Sunday at 6 PM. We are back live streaming on Sundays at 6 from this Sunday onwards. So if you're around the channel, check in and we'll have a chat. We'll look at the 12s there. And of course, as it's a Sunday live stream, we've got to show you some long range. And we'll be doing that for you from 6 PM tomorrow on Sunday. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday afternoon. For this video, that's all now. And thanks for watching.